From the OUTV Broadcast Center in Los Angeles, California, this is Brief News Brief, a brief look at today's trending news topics, proudly combating the thought police since 2016. Here's your host, James Heaney.
I'm James Heaney, and this is your Brief News Brief special report of the Woolsey fire, which is burning just a few miles up the PCH from the Brief News Brief studios here. The fire started Thursday. We first heard about the impact of this fire when our friends were being evacuated from their homes in Ventura County and in Thousand Oaks. On Friday morning, I was part of an email chain where a woman I do shows with said she couldn't make it to the show that night. She needed a sub because she was evacuating her family. There really wasn't much news coverage going on at that time, and it's understandable. It was a week packed with news, including another fire in Northern California called the Camp Fire. This fire burned an entire town. It was Paradise, California. And there was a deadly shooting of country music fans at a Thousand Oaks nightclub. I don't know if you're aware, but Thousand Oaks is where this fire's going on also. Also, there were a lot of other reasons why a giant historical fire affecting the large communities of Ventura and Los Angeles County wasn't in the news. But if you lived in LA and you were driving around on Friday night, you might not have needed to hear about the fire on the news because you might have just seen it for yourself. The Santa Monica Mountains were burning and engulfed in flames. They were easily visible from most of the Los Angeles area. The Santa Monica Mountains were on fire, covered in a thick plume of smoke. That was Friday night. That night, the city of Malibu underwent a complete evacuation. Residents were fleeing from their homes, fleeing for their lives to Zuma Beach with their animals. Celebrities, regular people, all of Los Angelinians were in terror. People in the affected areas had no cell phone service, no electricity, nothing. What's even worse is that there was literally almost no news coverage of this massive catastrophe until basically Saturday night, and then the full coverage on the local ABC News Sunday today. For 36 hours, there was complete chaos, confusion, and panic. There was almost no source of live updates except for following VC scanners or Twitter hashtags, very scarce news sources, which were very difficult to access, creating a blackout in this time of crisis. What a catastrophe! Who would think that in a 24/7 totally connected world that one of the largest areas of the country, if not the largest area of the country, the Ventura County and Los Angeles County area, would be in a complete media blackout crisis? Is it because the tragedy really escalated on Friday night when the 24-hour news cycles typically take a breather from the news cycle? Fire happens fast. No one expected this was going to happen, and no one knew it was going to happen to the greatest Los Angeles area, and no one knew it was going to be this bad. Sheer panic broke out at Pepperdine University, where a shelter-in-place mandate was enforced on kids who lived on campus. They watched in horror as flames danced around them, and everyone else in town was evacuated. Think about it. They were forced to stay in shelter while everyone else was under a mandatory evacuation. Well, parents fumed, calling local news stations, and those local news stations ran to the scene and confronted police, who were holding the kids in a building while the fire surrounded them. Absolute chaos. The kids were all safe, and the shelter-in-place mandate was lifted on Saturday once everyone had the chance to reevaluate the circumstances. Overnight on Friday, the fire grew to 70,000 acres burned and 0% contained, while the media blackout continued. If you turned on the news, you might think the biggest story in the country was what was going on in Florida. But where we live, here on the west side of LA, if you took a walk just before noon, you would have seen huge plumes of smoke rolling in off the ocean like some sort of eerie, apocalyptic marine layer. The beach was busy as usual, and beachgoers walked around like nothing was happening, going about their day with smoke everywhere. Visibility was less than 100 yards, and the teams of cops that were on bikes, they were all wearing masks. It looked pretty creepy. By noon, Santa Monica shut down all community and cultural activities and urged residents to go inside and remain inside. This is the first time in my 15 years living in Los Angeles where when I checked my phone to see what the weather was like, it said smoke. What's the weather like today? It's smoky outside. What is this? The latest for today, Sunday, November 11th, is that 83,275 plus acres have burned. It's 10% contained. 250,000 people have had to leave their homes. we're starting to see another series of Santa Ana winds picking up, which will go on through Tuesday. So gear up for a few more days of this. We have 8,000 firefighters on the front lines. ABC News is running all-day coverage watching hotspots. NPR has also picked up its coverage. The smoke for now in the Los Angeles area isn't apocalyptic, and for now, it seems to be that there's a handle on the emergency. But when this shit broke out, it was really slow reaction times from the community. The city of Los Angeles was not prepared for a crisis of this magnitude. The people of Los Angeles were not prepared for a crisis of this magnitude. Look around. We're entering a new normal. The way these fires spread these days has an exponential growth compared to what it used to be. Plants that would never burn in the past are burning. Some are comparing this disaster to other fire disasters in the Los Angeles area that was happening in the 80s and in the 90s. Yet even in the mid stages of this disaster, predictions are being made that this could be the most destructive fire in Los Angeles history. It's being reported that at least 50 homes have been destroyed in Malibu alone. There are at least 2 fatalities at the moment. Mandatory evacuations are still in effect all over the Los Angeles area. Highways are still closed down. If you live in an area evacuated, there is also no parking in that area. If you live where it's not evacuated, air conditions could be very bad. While it's still really early to be reporting on what caused the fire, since we're still in the crucial moments of basic survival, there are some interesting reports that we wanted to touch on. Again, this is just an investigation that's underway. It hasn't been, nothing's for sure yet, but the utility company, Southern California Edison, has told state regulators that there was an outage tied to one of its substations 2 minutes before the Woolsey fire is believed to have started in Ventura County. According to an incident report, the company filed with the California Public Utilities Commission a circuit relayed at 2:22 on Thursday. CAL FIRE says that the Woolsey fire started just 2 minutes later at approximately 2:24. News of Edison's report comes after word the Pacific Gas and Electric notified the GPUC that it experienced an incident early Thursday on a major electrical transmission line at a remote site in Butte County, minutes before the reported start of the Camp Fire. I don't like the fact that it's called Camp Fire because it sounds so normal. It is not normal to have this campfire. To top it all off, last month, Edison announced that its equipment likely sparked one of the 2 ignition points for the massive Thomas Fire, which burned more than 280,000 acres and destroyed more than 1,000 structures in Santa Barbara and Ventura counties last year. Regardless of how this started, this week is a week of extreme fire weather that we will be dealing with. Warning, extreme fire weather. This is not a drill. This is a new dawn of global warming conditions and outdated infrastructure. A time when we're going to be seeing firefighters in jets dropping pink fire retardant from the sky on the California landscape, painting it and trying to stop the whole city from burning down. These first responders are on the ground, saving lives, running into the fire, being tireless heroes. This is not over yet. Please stay alert and be aware of what's happening in your community. If you see a fire, keep your eyes open. If you see smoke, stay inside. Close your windows. Wash your clothes. Get a mask. And if you're going to get a mask to breathe, make sure it says N95 or N100 on it, because those are the only ones taking the dangerous particulates out of the air that damage your lungs. Stay alive. We're going to get through this. This has been a Brief News Brief special report on the Woolsey fire affecting the Ventura and Los Angeles counties in Southern California.